Happy New Year, happy Merry Christmas, happy birthday. I don't know what else to say. We are back. I'm back.
With a vengeance.
Yes, I'm so happy to be able to be back and be able to record. You know, let's be honest. 2021 for us personally was a little crazy, a lot of growth, a lot of learning.
Yes.
And I just knew that entering the summer season was gonna be hard. You know, for me and for us to be able to maintain the consistency with the podcast. That was last year.
The Everyday a Holiday podcast.
Yeah.
That is.
So I chose for it to be okay. And part of owning my season and savoring the days is that I have to be able to give my best yes. And to that is to the responsibilities that I had to be okay with it. And I wanted to, enter this season and also closed last season. Just kind of giving a little summary of the topics that we have touched, because season 2 of the podcast was so rich. I loved all the interviews, to be able to talk and just kind of get to know the stories.
Yes.
To me, I am passionate about listening to people's stories, and we learn to pause, to advance.
Right.
That rush is a killer. When loss comes, what happens when you're dealing with loss and grief? Knocking at your when loss comes and it's knocking at your door.
Knocking up.
Life-altering moments. And by the way, we are recording this in video, so you can watch it and you can listen to it. but if you're gonna watch it, you just have to see, because while I was talking, Alfredo keeps on singing, so I was like tapping his leg
To sing more, right?
No, can you please let me talk? Gosh. But anyways, so yeah, you guys can see all of this in video. I'm like, be quiet, I'm kind of talking. But anyways, so I'm just excited for what's to come, because these topics were so good for my soul, and I received so much feedback from the people that got to listen to the episodes, even months after, which is crazy. And that's what truly made me organize the time and say, you know what, we're gonna do this again. We're gonna try it again, and understanding the season, this is a good season for us to be able to do season 3.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I said, let's do it. And part of it was your comments and like the feedback that we got from the stories. What was the story from the stories that we touched on season 2 that were more that spoke to your heart, or that were meaningful for you?
I think listening to Joanne's story on loss.
Yeah.
And I mean, her story, it's one that a lot of people have gone through, like lose a family member. I've been there. I lost my grandfather February 2020, right before the pandemic, and like listening to Joanne's story just reaffirmed me a lot. But maybe you haven't lost a family member. But what I learned from the podcast is that we are constantly losing, though. And that sense of loss is one to be embraced if we want to be on a healthy path in our lives, because it's inevitable. Loss, like losing in life is inevitable, but it doesn't need to be the end, because it's not the end. It's just part of the path that we go into growth. And so listening to her story and I think Joanne, wow, I admire her. I admire her journey, and it speaks a lot into my journey, not only as I mentioned, as a family member that I've lost, which I have, but also other things that we lose in our life. We've talked so much about the pandemic, right? And how everybody enter in a mourning season, in a loss season, how to embrace that. So I really appreciated that episode for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. And I just want to close that season and entering the new season, just reminding you that we gotta pause to be able to advance. Sometimes it's okay to pause, to say no, to be able to give your best yeses, to say maybe this is not my time, or this is a time where I have to stay a little low, or maybe making some changes in relationships. When we pause, we truly advance. And
It's
also,
good,
rush is not gonna take us anywhere. It's gonna kill us. I lived it myself, and if you want to learn a little bit or want to get to know my story, you can go back to past episodes where I was able to share how rushing through life was killing me and killing my marriage, and my friendships and everything else. And you know, when loss comes knocking at your door, just like Alfredo was saying, you know, we have to embrace it and be okay with dealing with the grief. And you know, when life altering moments come, what do we do? And to me, all the episodes were a blessing. I learned so much. I laughed, I cried. There was so many emotions. And I just love to go back and listen to them, because I always come with this heart of a student. What can I learn from this story? And I always leave better. So I just want to go back and thank everybody that was able to be with us. I just loved it, and it was truly a blessing. And if you haven't heard the past episodes, we really want to invite you to go back and listen to them. They're going to be so good for your soul. And you know, which I just want to leave you with this before we enter the new episodes.
Season 3, let's go.
And the topics, the hot topics. I just want to share with you that rest can be as simple as slowing down your pace. That it might mean resting mentally by releasing a problem you've been worrying just for a little too much. So that could be your starting point. Rest can take many forms, and it doesn't necessarily mean doing nothing, but it does require some self-awareness. So we hope that you can rest, you know, this season in whatever feels more nourishing to your heart, to your mind, to your body, and to your spirit. And that as you rest, you release your cares into God's strength. So when you pick them back up, you'll be in a better place. And I think that was the heart of last season.
And thank you for your heart, by the way. Thank you for stop.
Last week was Valentine's, so happy Valentine's.
Hey, 17 Valentines together or so, right? No, I want to thank you, because I know you pour out your heart into this movement, really. And hearing the stories, not just the podcast stories that season 2 had, but hearing the stories of the people that have shared what they've learned, it tells me so much of how beautiful this space is, the Everyday Holiday movement is, and your heart is. So I thank you for sharing.
You're so cute. Thank you so much. I mean, to be honest, this is not mine, and I keep on reminding myself and kind of share it with others. This is not mine. This is not my thing, my movement, my podcast. This is a lifestyle that I found myself, that I understood that it worked for me, that it saved me in so many areas in my life, that I just want to be able to share with the world and kind of hold hands with everybody, you know, through different platforms, whether it's through Instagram, through a podcast, through a blog, or even just sitting down. My favorite place, just sitting down in the couch, just
over
those
coffee.
Couch conversations. You know, to be able to hold hands with someone else and say, you know what, me too. We're in this together, and this is Everyday Holiday is not equals Stephany. Everyday Holiday is for you. It's for everybody that is willing to stop, you know, to pause and allow God to speak to their hearts, to, you know, slow your pace so that you can listen to God's heart and also listen to God's instructions for your season. So talking about seasons, we are starting season number 3 of the podcast officially today, and I am so happy because you're with me. We're gonna be walking together this season. We're always together, but we're gonna be sharing together, and I'm excited for it. I'm here to learn. I'm here to listen to you, to your stories, but also we're coming from a place of vulnerability.
Absolutely.
We're coming from a place of imperfection, because we are not perfect and we do not know it all. But we are going to be talking about relationships, what we have learned, what we have lived, what we have experienced, and without any names, the things that we have heard.
Oh boy.
So we're starting today a new season on relationships. I think that relationships are key, important. They're essential to the human being. We can't escape relationships, really. So either you suck at relationships, or you choose to give yourself as the space to be able to learn about it. Now, again, I repeat it again, I am not a professional at relating. I suck at relating. I keep on, you know, reminding myself I need to learn more. I need to be more intentional in every level of relationships. You know, as the relationship with myself, my relationship with you, because you're my husband, with my kids, with my parents, with my brothers, with my friends. But we have had our fairs and shares when it comes to relationships, and we're gonna be able to share it all and be naked in front of you. I mean, obviously they
our souls.
Yes, exactly. They know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I love that we can spend season 3 on relationships, being, as you said, such a core understand. Like we need to relate. Like we were created to relate.
Escape from it.
You can escape. You can try to escape from it, and I think that that relationships will bring pain to you. That's normal. But running away from relationships also gives you pain. So it's kind of like pain away from the pain, and yet it is that dynamic of relationship that allows you to grow. So I think God made us relational because He knew that we need one another for us to grow. And I think this season of Everyday a Holiday, where you're listening, I believe, and I want to declare that, I really want to wish that for you, that you'll find some growth in some of this information and some of these experiences and stories. You'll find something that relates with you. That if you can grab that, just like clay, right? You can play with that a lot. I think God's going to do something, and you'll find some growth in this season. And I can't wait. That excites me. It really does.
Yes. That's what we're believing. That's what we do this podcast for. Because again, it's yours. It's yours for you to listen, for you to ask the Holy Spirit, what is it for me? What can I take away from this? And then from there, God will instruct you. And then you can run with the information so that it could become a revelation and you can put it into practice.
That's right.
Now, when it comes to relationships, there is a reality. Is that, yes, proximity brings intimacy, but also the people that are the nearest to you are the ones that have the biggest power, if I will say it, to hurt you. Very early on in our relationship, you hurt me. Dun, dun, dun. Of course you did. I'm talking about you.
I'm like, that's a nice entry. Like in the relationship, you hurt me. Well, yes.
You said 17 Valentines, and I actually posted about it on Valentine's Day, and I said it's been 17 Valentines together.
Yeah.
And the day of Valentine's was like that Valentine's number 1, basically that we spent together. It was because you called me and you said, "Do you want to go out for dinner? Do you want to go out?"
Yeah.
I don't remember how. Yeah, but basically he called me and he said, "Do you want to go out for dinner?" And mind you, we were broken up.
Yes, I think
it was 7 months
right,
later.
It's valuable.
Exactly.
6 months, but yeah.
About 6. No, it was 7 months.
Okay, 7 months then.
7 months later, he tells me if I want to go out for dinner after he had hurt my heart. So we are coming here clean and emotionally naked to be able to share this story because we started wrong and we messed up and it was not good. And do you want to say your part and then I'll share my part?
I mean, it's like I remember when I first saw her. I think we have to backtrack a little bit, right?
Correct.
Like
I was 18 when you saw her.
She immediately caught my attention. I think I was vacationing here. My brother lived here in Pembroke Pines, where we are at. We've been at since that time.
Literally.
And I remember seeing her. She got my attention immediately. But I was here like for a month or whatever. And then 4 months later, or 5 months later, I was actually here, like now officially leaving here. I moved from my country, El Salvador. I moved here to Pembroke Pines, to the 954, and here in Broward County, Florida. And I moved with my brother. Started like being in staff for the church, and and kind of like for me, it was a new experience. I was 19 when this happened, so I started with this excitement, getting engaged into a new community. You know, starting building relationships, new culture as well. And you know, I remember starting, I think, very early on the process, because if you have heard our story, about a month and a half later, I was taking Steph to her prom. So which the order kind of like, I feel was a little bit disorganized, I guess, from the regular, like.
Yeah, I feel like I was thrown into a situation where I mean, today I see it and I thank God for it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe that I went to prom with my husband.
Right.
That I didn't even know back then. So, but it was a situation where I was gonna go with someone specific, and that person had other plans, hotel plans and room plans, and my pastors found out, and they kind of spoke to my parents, and this whole thing that, you know, it's for another episode, you know, but which it was not okay. I mean, I know that God uses situations and things, but what are you doing talking to my dad, right? But then they spoke to my dad, and then my dad finds out, and basically how it all happened is that on a Sunday, my dad says, oh my gosh, I think you should go with Alfredo, which is Gerardo's brother.
So my brother was one of the pastors at the church.
Right, which is Pastor Gerardo. So you should go with him. And I'm just like, what is going on? I mean, sure. I think the prom was maybe like a week after or 2 weeks after. So, you know, and then we kind of spoke, and it was very... I
mean, it was awkward. Let's put it out there. Like, awkward. That was one of the most awkward nights I've ever had, because we were on the same table.
Yeah.
Like, finding out stuff about us. He was like, how many brothers do you have? You know, like, so, how's your family? I'm like,
We had a very shallow conversation about prom. You asked me, what colors are you wearing? And I said, I'm wearing purple. That's my favorite color, by the way. So I said, I'm wearing purple. And yeah, I mean, I remember my friends asking me, like, who are you going to go with? And this whole thing. And it was awkward, but I was excited too, because it was my prom. I was going to go with my friends.
Yeah.
But the point is that from there on, obviously, I liked him. You know, I started liking him. And all, but it was this thing, you know, where I'm coming from a house that is completely different from his. I am a girl from her house, never lived alone. I had a job because I did work, but my work and my money was for me. Like, literally every month I will receive money to buy shoes and purses and things for the dance ministry. I mean, yes, it wasn't wise, and that's another episode on finances.
For real.
But the point is that I was coming from a house completely different, and my perspective on relationships and my foundation for a relationship was completely different from Alfredo, because he was here and he knew he wanted to get married, and you know, he was very clear. I think that you were very clear since day one.
Yeah.
But in my case, I'm just graduating from high school. I had finished a relationship with someone that I believe he was my first love, not my true love, but my first love, and you know, I was coming from that, and the I guess magic and this, I don't know, illusion of what love is, you know, like, oh, we're gonna walk the parks together and we're gonna go and eat ice cream, and to me, that's how I saw a relationship. Like, we're gonna get married when I'm 25 and we're gonna have kids when I'm 30, and this illusion that I had on my head, almost like I had told the story, you know.
Right, you have told the story in advance.
In advance for myself, you know, this illusion of how it was gonna be. And then, you know, fast forward, we start talking, and I remember soccer games on Sundays for anybody that used to go to church back then. But we had soccer games on Sundays, so all the girls will go and we will just sit down and chit chat with each other while the guys were playing soccer. But then it was so funny because the guys will come and kind of give their things to the girl that they were talking to or the girl that they liked. And we hadn't tell each other that we liked each other. But Alfredo will come and give me his jacket and wallet. And that was everything for me. Like, to me, that was like, oh my gosh, he likes me. And it was beautiful. You had such a good relationship with my brothers, my dad, and my mom loved you. And my mom would always say, like, don't get married young.
Yeah,
And,
I
and
remember.
the crazy thing is that my cousin got married at 19. Nilsa, which is my sister-in-law, which is Alfredo's sister-in-law, got married at 19. So to me, imagine, you're adding the illusion that I have from a relationship and what I've seen of, what it is to get married at 19. I was like, oh no, I'm not doing that. I'm not getting married. So coming into a relationship, because then we spoke, Alfredo went to pastor at
We moved to
Boca?
Boca
Yeah.
Raton here in Florida, so that was like a 40-minute drive. But by then we're kind of like already like going out. We like each other. We already said it to each other,
Right.
and that brings us to the beginning of what you were telling, because 6 months had passed that I gave her a call, but it was rough. I think we weren't on the same page.
Right. When it comes to relationships, is that like liking each other is not enough.
No.
That's
an entry point, right?
It is like wanting to be with someone badly. It's not enough. That the person loves God, it's not enough. That the person goes to church, it's not enough.
Right.
That the person seems like a good person, it's not enough. And I found that about that so early into their relationship, because I remember that we had a conversation where we told each other that we liked each other. And then from there, I remember, you were so clear, so mature about it, or I thought like he was so mature about it, because I remember he said, we like each other, I see you as my wife. You can already
Your
imagine
boy,
this conversation at 19 years old, you guys. That is crazy. I'm a mom of an 11-year-old. And I would run.
Like 8 years.
I'll tell my daughter,
my
run from that. But I was like, but then he tells me, I'm ready for marriage and I want to be with you.
I wasn't, by the way, just to point it out.
Correct.
But I think you're talking about ideals. I also had ideals.
Yeah.
And ideals are just that, they're just ideals. That not necessarily what's best for you. So I think you have to navigate that. And again, a relationship is meant to be developed and to grow into it and kind of like get to know each other. I think that maybe I was a little bit aggressive on that end, saying like, oh, I'm so secure. I know you appreciated that and you like that.
Yeah.
But I was coming from a concept and not from character.
And I'm sorry to interrupt there. And I was coming.
You don't have to be sorry to interrupt.
I was coming from a relationship that had hurt me.
Right.
So imagine, I am hurt, and I want commitment, and I want someone that loves me and cares for me and is willing to do anything for me. And then this guy comes, in this case Alfredo, and he comes to tell me, I want to marry you, I want to be with you, I am serious about this.
Yeah.
So to me, it was like the answer that I was looking for, but not necessarily what I needed. I needed to be healed from the other.
Yeah, you needed to process loss and heal
and just grieve that relationship. But and I was empty. I was truly empty when it came to relationships. And Alfredo came to fill that gap, but without me actually dealing with the pain and the grief of ending the other relationship.
Which is why I think we ended, that relationship.
Yeah.
On that note.
So we started basically, talking and we, we became a thing at church,
Yeah.
and when it comes to church, like you sit together and you do things together and everybody knows.
We worship together.
Everybody
will
stop it. But everybody will ask us, so when it's the marriage? And oh gosh, it was so uncomfortable.
Not for me though. Not for me.
By the way, if I have done it to you, I'm so sorry if you're listening. But in my case, it was so hard because everybody was asking me, so when is the marriage? When are you guys getting married? And to me, it was almost like I had to please people with my answers, not necessarily with my heart and actions, because I have a very strong temper and I'm a rebellious in heart, and if I don't want to do something, trust me, it won't happen. So, but the answers that I will give people, and I find myself, this little girl, because I was a little girl, or maybe in that area specifically when it comes to relationships and the heart, I was a little girl coming from a place of hurt and coming from a place of fear, because I had fear to commit. So I will give the right answer when the Lord wants to, you know, whenever the Lord wants to. But that was not in my heart. I didn't want God to want to me getting married, you know, and I found myself because that I had fear of commitment. So there is this how to recognize fear of commitment, because I was able to recognize it in those 7 months that we were not together. Why? Because I wasn't taking dating intentionally or seriously. Right. I wasn't taking it, and I'll give you guys some examples because it was so bad. I didn't think about the future in the relationship. I was just thinking on the now. I'm gonna enjoy it today. We're gonna go out today. We're gonna go play soccer today. But I wasn't thinking about the future. But Alfredo was, so we were not in the same.
Yeah, we were not on the same page.
On the same page. I spent a lot of time questioning things, everything. If he didn't write me a letter, if he called me, if he didn't call me, where he sat, what he did. I kept on just questioning everything. I didn't want to make plans with him. I didn't want to get emotionally attached. I felt trapped. You know, I just felt trapped in the relationship, even though we didn't have it was all in my head, but I felt trapped, and I was hesitant to open to people about the relationship. Like my friends will tell me, so how is it? And I was like, I don't know. And I would just give the right answer, I guess, but not what was truly in my heart, because I was fearful. And I was constantly looking for reasons to think that it wasn't going to work out.
For reasons?
For reasons that it wasn't going to work out. And I was able to recognize it after. Why? Because into the relationship, like I remember we were serving together, and he will ask me, because he was already a pastor in the church, you know, like, oh, do you want to come sit down with me? Obviously, they'll sit in the front, and I wouldn't. Today, I know that it was fear of commitment, that I had to deal with that emotion in that situation. But back then, I was like, I don't want to sit in the front. Who cares? I just want to be in the back with my friends. I just want to leave. And literally, guys, no kidding, sometimes the service will end, because that was basically the places where we will see each other, and I would leave without even saying goodbye. I would just leave. Sometimes I wouldn't even answer the phone. He'll call me, and we were busy. I mean, you had a lot of things on your plate, and he will find, I guess, spaces for us to be able to go out or see each other, and I would just make up excuses or plainly not answer. Yeah. And it was this fight with my heart, because I didn't want to recognize it. I was questioning myself and all the things that I already told you before. And then one day you called me and you said, hey, I went to a training, and for the whole week we didn't talk. Yeah, we didn't speak. You called me, I didn't answer. I remember clearly seeing the calls and declining in my Nokia, where you could only play Snake. and yeah, I went to a training. We didn't talk for a whole week, and then that Friday you called me, and I remember a hurricane was coming.
Who?
A hurricane was coming.
Oh, it was.
So he calls me, Alfredo calls me after a week, and he said, hey, how are you, and how are you doing? And mind you, Alfredo is the nicest person on the earth, and today I understand that he's a 9. He is a phlegmatic.
Let's go, 9.
He's a sanguíneo phlegmático,
sanguine
phlegmatic. So all of these things I understand today, but back then I was like, he's just too nice. And the message or the story that I was telling myself is, you see, he doesn't care either, because he was treating me like we had spoken an hour before, like, how are you doing? And you were just too nice. And then he tells me, do you want to? I wanted to know if we could talk, and I said, sure. When? Tomorrow. My brother and my brother and my sister-in-law, they're moving, so I'm helping them move. So if you want to come and talk. The story that I'm telling myself, you guys, is this guy loves me. He is crazy in love with me. He doesn't care that we haven't spoke for a week. This is too much. He's so weird. Like, I can't believe we haven't talked for a week when he still wants to talk to me. And I remember what I wore. I had a yellow shirt.
Oh boy.
With like a jean skirt and little flip-flops, and I did my hair, did my makeup, because I thought that it was gonna be like a special date. Like we haven't seen or spoken to each other for a week. He's gonna prepare something, you know. And in my head, I'm already making these stories, and I'm sure all the girls listening are laughing because that's the power of the girl's mind. We have a whole movie already, a whole telenovela, and I remember that I got there and the place is a mess because clearly they're moving. And my sister-in-law asks me to help her move. And Alfredo's not even there. And I'm like, what is this? So I'm like packing boxes, you know, waiting for my hot date to come. And you show up and you're like, hi. And I'm like, hi, awkwardest thing ever. Can we talk? Sure, we can talk. You take me to the room, and what happens?
Oh my God, what an intro. It's like, you take me to the room, and what happened?
Everybody in their cars listening to the podcast was like, whoa, they did.
What had to happen happened, because by that moment in their by that moment in the relationship, I'm already over with it. Like, I don't feel appreciated. I don't feel that it's working, you know. Again, I have this concept of marriage and love and relationships, and I really like her, but who likes to be rejected all the time? You know, like you don't answer my phone calls, you answer when you want, you have a bad mood when, you know, you don't want to sit with me, you don't have time to go out. It's like, what is this? It's not even a friendship, to be honest.
And you were coming from a place of rejection.
And you know, I liked us as friends better than dating. So I'm like, I don't want this anymore. And you know, she Steph right now speaks where she was coming from, like her background of fear and not trusting people because of what she's lived as a little child and how was she brought up. Well, on my end is the other end. You know, the other end, my story is I'm coming from a place of feeling rejected, a very religious background, you know, and it's like you have to do to become, you know, all this, because that's what religion teaches us, right? Like do, and then you'll be, which is, I believe Jesus calls us completely the opposite, be, and then let's do together, you know? So obviously, coming from a lot of rejection in my house, I am a middle child. Shout out to my middle children out there that have had to endure the pain and the misery of being in the middle.
No, it's not a misery, but yes, there's things that you gotta deal with as a middle child.
Absolutely, you know, so I'm coming from that, and this is triggering a bunch of things, you know, like having someone that I like, that I think, you know, I have feelings for. I gave her my rose, you know. My last rose was for her. If you know, you know.
Oh, Bachelor Nation.
Don't. And you know, so, but no, like she ain't taking it, you know. So for me it was so hard, and then I chose to call quits that afternoon.
Oh God, it was so bad.
And you know, if you're a Survivor fan, hey, I'm a Survivor fan, guys, and you know when you get a blind side. It's like everybody's voting against you. They're gonna kick you out, and you're the most confident in that tribal council. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's okay. And you're like, oh, we're gonna get rid of this player in the game. No, bro, they're gonna get rid of you. And I think that day for Steph was a blindside because she had no idea, and you know, her reaction was very mild, if I may. Like at that moment, she was in shock. That's all I can say. And then after that, you know, her follow-up call was priceless.
Hold on, but can I say what you said? Because I think that it was a life-altering moment for me. It really started a process, which, parenthesis, I believe that God uses situations and things that we go through, even when it's disillusion, to form different things in our character. And I think that there was so many areas in my character that I needed to work with that I didn't see before. And yes, they were shown in that new stage of my life in the dating. And maybe you are just having a child, maybe you lost a child, maybe you just ended a relationship, or you're starting a relationship, maybe you just got married. Any life transition in your life, God will use a transition to show you something about your character. And that's what happened. So he speaks to me super raw, clear, nicer than ever. Gosh, and I like to fight, you know, I like to be able to have a conversation about it. And he just says, like a good 9, okay, I'm so happy we're here, that we can talk. You know, I appreciate you and I appreciate your friendship, you know, more words or less. You know, he says, I don't think you're the woman for me. I think that you're not ready for commitment. I think you are, you know, you're still a girl, a little girl in your heart. And I just think that we should remain friends, not for now because I need my space, but like a good 9 again. Not for now because I need my space, but you know, I prefer for us to be friends and cordial to each other. And you know, like, thank you for these months, and I appreciate you. Something like that. And you guys, when I tell you that I cried, but that I didn't cry because of pain, I cried because of pride, and just.
But you didn't cry because of pride, or you cried?
No, I cried because of the pride. I was just crying de la rabia. Like, I was so upset.
Yeah. I'm
like, what is wrong with this guy? Like, no, give me back the rose. Not just kidding. I was so mad. And I cried and I literally said nothing. I said, okay, that's fine.
And then you left.
And I got up and left, you guys. Left. I left, I got in my car, I started crying like a little girl. I am confronting myself, confronting my emotions, but not yet naming the pain. Mm-hmm. So it was just my pride. And I got on the phone, called my mom, or maybe she called me, I don't remember how it was. And I'm like, Alfredo, you know, he did this and I can't believe him. And who does he think he is? And my mom is like, girl, please. Mm-hmm. Like a good one. She's like, choleric. Get over it, girl. Like, you're okay. You're better off. I knew anyway. You know, like, my mom was like, girl, just keep on doing life. Which that's what I was taught to do. Never, you know, like, get over it. Get up and keep on going. So can you tell us the code? Because then I called him.
She called me.
Yes, I did.
With this new strength. She found new strength, new speech, and
yep.
She's like,
hola.
Hi, you know, I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? I mean, I thought that I was clear. She just confirmed, right? Like, I was clear. We were not on the same page. I don't want to hurt you, but I'm hurting myself as well, you know? And then, you know, she was very empowered, not necessarily positive speaking. I felt for
the world, girl.
I felt for a moment that I was in that video, music video, and you know, she has like,
the 2 lines.
She's ready to go, you know, like for war, and just somewhat maybe try to make a point and stand her ground that, you know, she wasn't going to allow to be like diminished by me or my relationship, but also in a very diminishing tone. Like, I'm like, oh my God, like, so I think, I don't know if you were trying to make me feel bad. I'm pretty sure you were, but I know I felt this anger on that phone call. I felt like I even felt somewhat regret of the months that passed of our relationship. Like, you regretted it. I felt you were coming with.
For like a good 3 to me.
Yeah,
it's a waste of time. Like, you made
exactly.
Me waste my time.
So
and
I
probably
think
that's what I said.
Yeah, and I don't remember exactly what you said. I just remember how I felt. Doesn't it happen to you so many often times? It's not what it was said, it's how we felt that kind of like sticks to us as we go. And I think that's what I remember, the emotions of rejection again, because now you're coming at me with a different narrative, and it's like, this was a waste of time. I don't need you. I don't want you. thank you very much. Bye. Oh my God.
Literally.
Okay. You know, and I had to deal with it the next, again, as we bring you back to where we started, you know, that first Valentine, sorry, it was kind of like birthed after this process,
that day, yeah.
after that phone call.
Literally,
that was the last time we spoke.
When I called you, I was driving back to the house and my mom was like, come home, because the hurricane was coming the next day.
Yeah.
And the hurricane came. I don't remember which hurricane was, but it was really hard because we were without light for
two
a
weeks.
week.
Yeah, it hit us. I don't
we,
remember.
At my house, we had
maybe
it for a week.
Katrina, maybe.
I don't remember, but guys, we didn't have social media. I think that the only not even MySpace back then, or maybe if we had there was MySpace, but we were not friends in MySpace. And then we had MSN.
That's how we kind of like stayed in contact.
That's how we communicated after. But that was our social media back then. We were not texting because I had the Nokia phone, the little one, the blue one.
Yeah.
That you could only play like Snake on the phone. And I don't even know if you had a cell phone. Well, of course you had one. I did. But I remember talking to you, getting home, and I am entering this painful season. And we're about to wrap up like the first episode, and then you guys, we're gonna leave you with a cliffhanger, and then you're not gonna want to miss episode 2. But I remember, and like as I was entering my house after that conversation and that phone call, I was entering a new season in my life. I mean, talk about timing. He breaks up with me. I have a whole crazy reaction, hysterical reaction.
Yeah.
But today I understand that what's hysterical is historical.
That's right.
Which means that my hysterical reaction was truly mirroring something historical in my life.
Right.
I was dealing with fear. I was dealing with pride.
Mm-hmm.
I had a whole bunch of issues when it comes to trusting and relating and all these things. And I was entering my house, I was entering a new season, and a hurricane comes. So we have no light, we have no TV, we have no music, we had nothing more, just being home, praying that this hurricane doesn't, destroys our houses. And I literally just had my notebook and my Bible. And you guys, when I tell you that I had a week of an encounter with Jesus and myself, I think that was the first time that I had an encounter with myself, where God spoke to me and told me, Stephany, you need help. There is things in your heart, in your heart and in your character that you need to change. You are fearful of commitment. You are prideful. You create these stories in your head, and you're not allowing anybody entering into your heart. And I remember in that week, I cried so much. You guys, I couldn't talk to anybody but my mom and my brothers. My brothers didn't care.
Right.
They were playing soccer outside. It was just me.
In the middle of the hurricane?
Oh yeah, you guys, if you meet my brothers,
love you guys.
They're amazing. Love you guys so much. Gave me the biggest gifts, my sister-in-laws and my nephews. But anyways, you guys, it was just me and myself. And that week, God spoke to me. Mm-hmm. And when I tell you God spoke to me, is that literally a verse that I have it marked in one of my Bibles, that we used it for a wedding, that I have gone back to it in different seasons of my life, including, that's another episode when we almost got divorced. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you guys, another episode. And oh gosh, well, basically God told me, do not do anything, do not manipulate anything in my time. Mm-hmm. In my time, I will open
he'll open a road where there is no road.
I will open a road where there is no road, and a new thing will come. When I tell you that God instructed me, because I believe that in every season, if you stop to listen, God will instruct you. The instruction was, do not manipulate, do not do anything. And in that week, God told me I was going to get married to you. But when I tell you that was not what was happening, you guys, he didn't speak to me for 6 months.
Yeah.
Just the last month.
Yeah.
For a whole 6 months, you didn't talk to me.
Yeah, until I call you. That call that you were talking at the beginning
That's
is
month 7.
That's month 7 in January. Yeah.
He didn't talk to me. I was still seeing him every week because I will go dance at the church that you were working at. I will see you
As part of the dance ministry, just for
Yeah.
those who are wondering.
That was that kind of dance, yes, the
Yeah,
dance ministry.
the dance ministry. Yeah.
Oh gosh, it was so crazy because here I have a promise. God has been working in my heart. I start having these tough conversations with myself, and I remember having this conversation with my pastor back then of everything that God was showing me. But then what I was seeing was completely different. And maybe you're in that season where God has given you a promise, but whatever you see, like the reality of what you see, it's not what the promise says. You know, he wouldn't speak to me. He was actually, or I was listening or hearing rumors that he liked someone else. And you guys, when I tell you that it was hard, it was so hard because I knew what God had told me, but in my reality, it was not happening. And then 7 months later.
7 months later, 7 months later, you know, all of a sudden, guys, listen, for me, those 6 months were so healthy. Freedom.
And it's good to give yourself
Yeah, you need
space.
time. I think that one of the biggest mistakes we can do in relationships, if we have ended one, is just running towards the next one. I think there's so much value in you know, stopping and kind of like being honest to yourself and just analyze the relationship, what you can learn from it, and that sometimes takes time. Like it can't be so quick, right? But so for me, it was very good. I kept working hard. You know, we had many projects happening with the youth back in the day, and but all of a sudden that December we had a retreat, and you were there with the team, and something re-sparked in my heart. It really did. And I when I say I was over, it's 6 months, guys. Like
no,
it was 6 months. By then I said it's all done. Like I moved the page.
When someone likes you, like you know when someone is interested in you. When I tell you that he wasn't, it's because he wasn't. Like he wouldn't even look at me. I was like,
no, yeah, I was
like, I get it for 2
I was
weeks,
done.
but 6 months, like, come on. Like I honestly thought God has to do a miracle.
Yeah,
because
I was
this guy
done,
is
and it
over.
was because it was out of nothing. I started having these feelings again, and you know, I was seeking some counsel about it because I was confused. Like after so many times, that is a closed chapter in my life, really was. And you know, I had some good friends speaking life into it, and I chose to give her a call and just ask her. I know it's kind of like awkward, but it's like, hey, how are you?
No. I remember that we, like the first approach was, I was in MSN, right? The messenger or messages or whatever.
Messenger, yeah.
So guys, how it worked is that your profile will show us active or inactive. So basically I was active.
Oh, did I text you? Did I message you there first?
And he messaged me and said, hi, how are you?
That's hilarious.
So I'm like, this guy just wrote me, you know, and I'm like, hi, you know, like the...
Yeah, trying to put us.
super cold. I'm like, hi. And so basically I said hi. And he said, so how are you? And I remember that I was going to New York. So I told you.
True.
I remember. I told you, oh, good. We're preparing
a trip
with my family. We're going to New York. And his answer is, bring me something. Oh, good. Like, oh, I'm so happy. Whatever. Bring me
like
something.
funny, right? Like, hey, bring me something.
But I was like, coming from, I don't like you. I don't talk to you. Because of the rumors, because you know in churches there is always rumors. Gosh, this gossip at church, we need to stop it. But anyways, I have heard that you liked someone else.
Which
so
was
I'm
not
like,
true, by the way.
Yeah, whatever. Anyways, so I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, like again, girls, we just make this whole telenovela. I'm like, he wants me to bring him something, which means that if I buy him something, I have to see him to give it to him, which means we're gonna have an actual conversation after 6 months.
Yep.
So I go to New York, and in New York, because we stayed there for like a week and a half, I find myself in MSA or whatever the messenger is called, texting the dancers.
From the dance ministry.
From the dance ministry. And oh gosh, and I find him there again, and we actually have a conversation, like, how is New York? And I'm having so much fun. And then he tells me, okay, see you on next Sunday, and I hope that you bring me something.
I called you on the phone,
And we spoke about it, and then that Sunday I gave it to you.
Yeah.
And of course things were differently. You know, we stayed talking, and then a whole month goes by.
Yeah, because that was December, and then
God already had spoken to you, but that's where instructions
I waited
come.
for a month.
He waited for a whole month, you guys, so that it could be as corny as it could be for February 14.
Yeah.
And yeah, he called me. He called me that Sunday. He tells me, crazy enough, February 14 was on a Monday. Because I remember
it was
by
Monday,
the way, if Christian, Marvin, and Denzel are listening, I was taking singing lessons back then. And I was taking singing lessons, and Alfredo calls me on a Sunday. He says, hey, hi, I was calling you to see if you want to go out for dinner. And I'm like, when? And he says, tomorrow. And inside of me, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Valentine's Day and he wants me to go out with him. Of course he wants me. But anyways, I'm like, and I tell him, oh, I can't, because I have, always, like making myself being hard. I'm like, I can't, because I have singing lessons. I have to take, and it was all the way in Miami.
Yeah.
And he tells, guys, an hour away from
It was an hour drive.
It was an hour drive. And I'm like, I can't. I have like singing lessons or whatever. And it was like a 4-hour class. So from 6 to like 10. He tells me, don't worry. I already spoke to your dad and I'm picking you up.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? So my dad, that is a teddy bear that he is, had already arranged everything, took me to the class and left so that Alfredo could pick me up.
Yeah.
And the rest is history. That day I took a letter, and it was the letter that I wrote to you
hurricane.
During the hurricane, during that week that was super hard. I wrote you a letter and I said, I know that one day you're gonna read this, and I just want to know. I just want to tell you that I always knew that you were gonna be my husband.
Yeah. So it's funny because this past Valentine's, which was Monday,
it was
we asked the kids, because we wanted to celebrate with them after school. So we asked our youngest, Luca, he's 8, and I said, where do you guys want to eat? And then he goes, I want to go to Olive Garden. They love Olive Garden, right? And then so we're like, yeah, sure, let's go. When we're there, sitting down at the table, this thought comes to me, and I get reminder that Monday the 14th,
yes,
I picked her up from the singing lessons in Miami and drove all the way back to Pines.
Yeah.
And I took her to Olive Garden. I know this is funny, guys, but I parked not in the same place, the same row. Like this past Monday, we parked in the same place that we parked, in the same section that we parked. And we're there 17 years later with 2 kids.
And we told this story to not the whole story.
I think that was really, we don't tell the whole story, but it was so special to tell the kids.
The story to the kids. And Luca, what was his answer?
Luca goes like, why are you telling us this now?
And we're like,
we
you're
just
old
remembered.
Enough. We tell him, because you're old enough. And he's like, I'm 8. You could have said it last year. Saying I was 7, I could have understood.
But it was for me, it was kind of like this full circle.
Yeah.
Like being there, I had not noticed, or I didn't. It wasn't an intentional thing. We were just there, and we were reminded. I don't know, man. For me, it made me feel grateful of everything that we've gone through. This past 17 years plus that we've known each other, and it's relationships are not easy.
No.
But they're needed.
Yes.
And
they teach us so much.
They're one of the best teachers and one of the best vehicles for us to grow. There's so much value in relationships. I think that not all relationships might be the best relationships that we have. I think that we need to be intentional in who do we allow to be in our lives. Obviously our family is our family. We don't get to choose them, but we can choose to have intentional relationships and try to seek, growth and kind of like nurturing those relationships. But I just felt grateful really on Monday, this past Monday, for Valentine's.
And for processes. I mean, we just want to leave you guys on this first episode, with one truth. We all need relationships.
Yeah.
Relationships are essential.
They matter, yeah.
Number 2 is that we can't escape from relationships. So we got to be open to be able to learn, and we got to be open to go through the processes, because yes, relationships are going to take us to processes, and it's okay. But number 3 is evaluate your relationships and evaluate where you are. You know, who you are is more important than what you do.
Right.
And change comes through honesty and vulnerability. So listening to your emotions, it's gonna usher you into a reality, and reality is where you're gonna meet God, the reality of your heart. How am I today? Am I truly ready for a relationship? Or can I be honest? My relationship is not working. What can I do better? And lastly, you gotta pay attention to your inner world. I hoped that I would have paid attention to my inner world.
For sure.
Instead of trying to do and show more of myself, just, you know, pause and be able to listen to my heart, because radical change is in the core of our being.
Yeah.
So when we give ourselves the space to think, how am I? To give attention to our inner world, then we're gonna be able to put emotions, put a word into our emotions, put a name your pain, you know, like to be able to put a name to where we're going through. So guys, this has been an hour, literally 59 minutes, and I cannot believe it. But I just want to thank you for listening. Thank you for joining the journey with us, for walking the journey with us, and for, you know, be able to be with us in this crazy roller coaster that has been in our lives. And we're here to share this movement with you guys, and hopefully that you can be part of it, because I believe that we all can live every day like a holiday, not stepping into reality, but actually, because we are accepting our reality, we can choose how we feel, we can choose how we react, and instead of reacting based on our emotions, we can truly align our emotions and give them to God, so that we can live our best every day.
That's right. Thanks for listening. We love you.
Love you guys.